I would.
That's the biggest sales fence we've had. We had a 270 here in 23, I see, but it wasn't that big.
We had a 289 on the bottom.
Oh, I guess we did. I missed that
It's
one.
the third highest, but
Yeah.
it's like.
Yeah, it's quite a jump.
For me,
Last
Last we didn't have enough, yeah.
Was made down so far. And then because people send it in or receive it, I mean, how does that do? How does it do that?
No fishy.
I mean, it's just whatever the sales, it doesn't have anything to do with when it was.
Most people
Sent in or
decided
anything
they
like
had-
that.
Yeah, they just
They
waited
thought
a while
they
to
didn't do
get
it.
out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe the weather, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Weather. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't
Can
say
get
the weather,
out
'cause
and
it hasn't
you don't
been
have to
nicest,
plant,
but
you can get out.
I don't know.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Maybe people got a bump in pay and for spending their money, I don't know.
No, it might be in farm products. There's a lot of money in that.
they don't pay tax on
They're
it.
down 40 billion this year.
Don't say that.
Oh, that's right. There isn't, is there?
Nothing there.
Different category.
People buying new vehicles, maybe.
Maybe.
There's,
Those
that-
farm,
Yeah,
those farmers are buying new vehicles.
There you go.
Not me.
That-
Drive old ones.
Price of
That's
beef is
also
up
not-
so they can get a new truck.
I don't think that's in this category.
I don't think so either.
Farm use goes to a
That's
different
taxes,
category.
yeah.
Yeah,
it said home building is up in the air.
Did you want to open the audience to visitors
No.
back up since we were on our own?
It's the Wondery.
I will do that. We'll go back to that.
It's not mine.
Thinking.
Probably branches.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you. I don't think we need to approve it. Just thank you for your
Yep.
report. Okay, I'd like to open this up then to audience to visitors since the online group didn't seem to be able to talk. Is there anyone online that would like to make comments for the committee to hear? Okay, well, thank you. We just wanted to give you the opportunity in case you'd missed. Okay, number 8, Community and Resource and Community Development, Amy Oliver, Grant Support Funding Program. Do you have anything to report, Amy?
You might still be on the other link, to be honest, but she doesn't have any. She had contacted me this morning and said she did not.
Okay, okay. Now we might have confusion that people are on 2 links, so.
Well, Amy and I were the only one on there, so let me just
All right.
get this one and she's not there. So.
Okay, we're making noises. All right. If Amy comes on later and she has something, we'll allow for that.
Sounds good.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah. Finance Department, then the financial report unaudited.
All right. So for the general government fund there, the tax levy hasn't been allocated yet. So that's part of the reason why you're seeing the revenues look down. Expenses all looked in line. IT was a little high, but they did have our usual equipment purchases, which if we do those earlier in the year, that is going to show a little higher. But ideally, we're aiming to be close to that 50% coming into the end of June. We're on track. As far as our enterprise funds go, Vernon Manor, again, not looking very great. But Vernon Acres is at the highest census they've had since they've been open. I believe the census is currently 31. We can take 36. Their financials are actually not too far off, but Vernon Manor is on track to not be doing very well. When the financials were presented at this month's Board of Trustees meeting, if they continue that way, we're looking at about a $2 million loss for the year. Moving on to solid waste there, recycling is doing well. Yeah.
Can I just have a question about Vernon Acres?
Yeah.
How many are self-funded and how many are, because they take Medicare patients too because of there was not enough?
Yes, I don't have that breakdown for you. I know we've had more recently more Medicare Medicaid patients, which is beneficial because those rates went up quite a bit.
Okay.
But that's something I could provide if the committee feels.
What they said, 9 Medicare
Nine.
patients,
Okay, well, that's.
Medicaid, or something, Medicaid. That's the meeting. Don't quote me, but that's about what they have.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. So
I'm
moving
sorry,
on.
solid waste.
So let's get to solid waste. Recycling's doing well there at almost 63% of budgeted for the year. But as you can see in the solid waste portion, we're down quite a bit. A lot of that is going to the SEH right now for the feasibility study work. Engineering there. And then highway is right on track. So no issues with them.
So the equipment that they bought at the compacting machine, that was a used one, but that should be adequate to last a while, is that?
That's the understanding, but then it was reported to us at committee this month that they're having problems with it already.
Okay,
So
all right.
not
It
great.
was less money, I could see that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was the committee's feeling they didn't want to purchase a brand new piece of equipment. I mean, the compactor's what, 800,000? Yeah.
That was the minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
And the insurance check was like 4.
And part of that had already been spent,
Right.
Mhm.
so,
So you,
and that came out of the cash account, so it wasn't borrowed, but
I understand.
Yeah.
And now I
Okay.
think the engineers are coming Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be presenting at county board on Thursday for the additional costs for the feasibility study.
that's why we requested that goes to the board,
Yes,
because it's
it's significant.
quite a bit of money.
Well, even for the feasibility study.
Even
Yes.
so, the additional investigative work that the DNR will be requiring in order for us to continue the feasibility study is what they're going to present on.
What's about an additional, what,
$200,000. More to come on that on Thursday.
Okay, thanks for the update. Any questions about the financial report? Not the finance department report.
All right. So the auditors are here today, which is great because we're actually on schedule. It's a little dicey there for a while. We weren't sure that if we were still going to be able to meet our timeline. As I reported last month, we did hire, her name was Jenny Hinz. She's a CPA to do the cash reconciliation for 2023. Cash wasn't reconciled for that entire year. So that's finished. That needed to be done in order for the auditors to come. It's estimated the auditors will be on site for 3 days. I'm trying to find a CPA or similar position to assist the finance department in the interim and to assist with the preliminary budget process. Been at it for about 3 months with this interim finance director thing, and it's getting to be a little bit much, and I need a little help with the supervision and some of those processes. So
Yeah, that's a lot for you to handle with the outside.
I would like to be able to focus on doing my job well. So more to come on that. Recruitment for the finance director position continues to be a struggle. I had asked Tricia to have some statistics on how many people we've screened through, and I'll ask you to share that now. Yeah, could you? People online can hear you.
So we've had a total of 29 candidates that have applied. 10 that we have pre-screened or at least attempted to conduct a pre-screen. Perhaps they didn't show up, so that's why I said we attempted. We had 4 in-person interviews. We did make 1 offer who did decline based on personal family reasons, nothing to do with Vernon County. And
That was about 2 months ago.
yes,
Right.
yes. And we have spent a total of $4,315 approximately on recruiting. So it isn't for lack of trying.
That's where that's sitting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there any way, I know it's probably not a county thing, but is there any way you can train someone from within to do this?
This position.
Okay, okay.
To be frank, I've had discussions with
Yeah.
a particular
Okay.
person.
I asked that
It's not
question
on it.
too, Kitty.
Did you? Okay,
I thought
Yeah.
once with her,
all right.
but that is a good question. I
It's
thought,
a great question. Honestly, the first place I will always look to see if there was someone internally that would, be willing or able to move up. But in this case, we do not have that person
Anyone.
that's currently in place.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then finally, we had a revaluation of one of the the accounting specialist 2 positions that's primarily focused on payroll. And that's going to lead us into our next agenda item. But what I've found in my supervision of the finance department is that the duties are very different. And they should absolutely not be classified the same. So currently they're both accounting specialists 2. That was a push that the previous finance director had with the intention that both of them would be completing payroll and the finance director would be a backup. That has not been the case. That is not what we feel is best for the department either. And so we did ask for that position to be evaluated. That person completed a position description questionnaire with our wage consultant. That is on the bottom of your updated recommended grade changes sheet.
so where's that taking us? Up, down?
Up. And that is on the other sheet, which if we're ready to go to that agenda item, I can speak to the specific.
That's what you have to report on.
That is all I have to report on. Yep.
Okay, so then we'll go to budget amendment to allocate contingency funds.
All right. So we've been at this process for quite a while. Brought this to general government early this month. We had budgeted a $200,000 contingency into the 2024 budget for implementation of the final stage of the wage study. So as you recall, we did a 5% overall increase back in September and another 5% increase in January to get us closer to where we need to be while the wage study was being completed. So this is the last adjustment piece. So there are a lot of people that won't see an increase at all because they're already at market rate. There are some that still need an adjustment. With that, on the recommended salary schedule, there are some positions that will be moving grades. That's what you have on that sheet that's blue and green. The positions in green are moving up on the scale. The positions in blue are moving down. A lot of that is reflective of where the market is sitting right now. Some of it's reflective of those duties, which is similar to what I just explained with the payroll specialist. The hope would be that we would implement this the first full pay period in July, which would be July 7th.
How's it going? This is recorded for those that are going.
So we, when we got the results back, initially Tricia and I met with each department head and went over each and every position. Those positions were assessed for equity and accuracy within the department. We then, the week and a half or so before general government, I held staff meetings with each department to talk about the process and the implementation piece of it, kind of how we got to where we are. What the other piece of this will be next month with general government will be the policy piece that goes along with this. And there'll be some recommended policy changes there too.
So basically, these people are frozen that we currently have. This is just for new hires and.
Right. So, and no one is taking a pay cut as part of it. So if you're already at market, you're staying at market.
Does it say like for some of these that are going down? So it just freezes them until they reach the steps.
They'll still, if we do a cost of living increase in the 2025 budget, those will get that. Yeah.
Oh, so they're not getting a decrease?
No.
Okay.
No one will get a decrease in pay.
But they will be frozen until they meet the step they're supposed to be at with their actual wage, not the at the COLA, that'll be different. They get that anyway.
Right, if they're already in market, they're not going through the steps anymore. So that's correct. They would be subject to any cost of living increase. And then if the board did decide to do an additional amount for any of those that are in market, then they would get that.
When they get moved down, they just move up on the scale, so they don't get steps automatically anymore. That's where the free, it's not really a freeze, but that's where their top end is limited different than that. So it's basically just they lose their steps. An automatic increase.
Okay.
Which is what steps are. Since I've never served on this committee,
It's automatic pay raises every year.
okay, that's what's called step.
Yeah.
Which we have found out it's not necessarily automatic.
Well.
So the recommendation with that is that it's merit based.
Right.
So if you have someone that is, for example, on a performance improvement plan or just isn't meeting expectations, you do not have to give that step increase,
Okay.
which is the way we would like to see that go.
And the other general principle for this is the letters are alphabetical, so if you go up, then you increase in letters. If you go down, you decrease in letters.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That helps me understand.
You know how many employees are gonna get stepped up? You probably did the math on that, like, of the 300 people that we have, is it like 150 are gonna get stepped up? Or do you
When
know?
you say step, do you mean
Or
like moving from A to B
Yes,
or
Yes. yes,
Grade, change grades?
Yeah,
Is that what
change
you're
grades.
at?
up? A handful of interns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Less than 20?
Okay.
Yeah, the big ones, like Vernon Manor, Vernon Acres has a handful of housekeeping assistants, for example. Those are going up. But what they found was all of the nursing positions were one to two steps higher than they needed to be. So it's adjusting back to market for those. That was the bulk of them that were going down. Yeah, so not a lot as far as stepping up.
I know that decision be made as far as Vernon Manor and
We're hoping by the fall. We're still working on a draft agreement. We had one, and then when our corp counsel and their attorney got a look at it, because the draft we were going off of was from Northland, which was created in the 80s. We're starting over on that piece of it. So that's part of what we're waiting for.
but as far as like the employees that are here now that have been here, say for 20 years, will that affect, and those that haven't been here, is that going to affect like?
So we're looking at ways, retirement's a whole separate piece, but as far as the rest of our benefits, we're looking at ways to make them whole. And that's part of this next step.
And will this be shared with the board or just with us?
It was in, did Jerry put that in the packet?
what's that?
I don't know if Jerry put this in your packet or not, but I can make sure it's in there.
I don't think it was.
I don't
The
remember.
fiscal impact one was, but maybe not the grade changes. So I'll make sure you get a copy of that
For the county board.
for the county board, because you did have the estimated fiscal impact. I did have that last minute change to the payroll specialist position, but that was the only one besides what you had in your packet.
Okay, that was this.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you just, there may be questions from the full board.
Mhm.
So we made a lot of progress. Here's been with wages.
Yes, we have. And it's significantly helped our retention and our recruitment efforts. Good. Which is good. I think the first couple of weeks I was here, we were really struggling in a couple different departments where we had people leaving. And highway was pretty bad at the time. So.
At 6 or 7 changed.
I don't see like finance manager on here or director. Do you see it on there?
No, and not on this one. These are the ones that are going to change.
Right.
Maybe we need to change that once we can get one.
We may be having that discussion eventually. I mean,
Yeah, I may get to that.
I don't think we're there yet. Yeah. But it's definitely in the back of my mind. Yeah.
What would the current cost be if you hired someone to come in? Like a couple months or?
Probably not a lot different. One, we're not paying,
That you would be.
we're not paying benefits. Two, I wouldn't be utilizing them 40 hours a week. And so as it sits right now, we have a pretty significant savings from not paying a finance director for 3 months. So the money's there.
So maybe you should bring us a proposal to have something interim or hiring on a part-time basis.
Yeah. I didn't plan on bringing it to the committee, to be honest. It's operational in my mind. And
Oh,
so I would just
okay.
do like I did with the CPA and on a project basis and expend the funds from there.
Okay,
So
So I just don't want to wait another month, to be honest.
okay, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
I was concerned that,
So with that in mind, do you need a full-time finance director?
Yes,
You do.
yes.
Okay. Just a question.
I should be clear about that. I still will be answering a lot of questions and doing a lot of the interim work, but like some of the more like answering questions for Holly, on a daily basis or someone having some oversight over those two, like that's what I'm looking for in the interim. But yeah, that position absolutely still needs to be full-time.
Okay.
okay, are there any other questions? Do we need to do anything with this item?
Yes, so this is on, for the board on Thursday, the resolution you have in your packet. I have it up here. The only difference would be that, that dollar amount on the bottom, we would use that updated amount on your sheet, which is 103,229.56.
And you said there were funds allocated already.
Yes, yep, we built a $200,000 contingency into the 2024 budget for implementation. So we do have the funds.
The remainder of that contingency is on hold, or is that going to get moved somewhere else then?
I have no intention of bringing a proposal to you to move any of that money. So unless we, for some reason run into something before the end of the year, it'll just sit there. Yep. Yeah, any budget amendments would come before this committee before they would go to board.
The questions, otherwise I'll entertain a motion to forward this resolution 2024-30.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? And that amount then gets changed on the county board floor, is that right? Or yes, it's
Changed.
changed on the county board floor. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Okay, so we'll expect to see that. Item 11, Ho-Chunk funded projects.
Updated.
It's in the packet then. Okay.
Updated the notes from the two resolutions that we had last month, where we reallocated some of those 2023 contingency funds to the Next Gen 911 project, and then the reallocation for revenue loss that's reflective on there. And then the $9,000 that we reallocated to the .gov domain. So you have updated balances there.
Any questions anyone have about that?
So some of the whole chunk funds, those are just automatically given. I mean, it's like the couple of townships, right? They're always the 10,000 each. Is that voted on every?
No, that from 2019 was flood recovery. So the only Ho-Chunk funding we allocate, and that's per our agreement with Ho-Chunk, is to the town of Stark and the town of Whitestown, I believe, were required. I don't remember the amounts offhand.
Well, it's,
And why
Wait.
get retired?
We aren't required,
Yeah,
but that's what we elected to do
okay.
with it
it's an.
when we started.
Yeah, it's in the agreement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we made the agreement that
Yeah.
way.
And what's
And-
the amount that they
Well,
received?
this says 83,000 for.
It goes according to, their acres they have, Ho-Chunk has
The
in their
neighborhood,
township.
$200,000, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, it's 125.
So one gets a little more than the
125. If you
other.
look on the listing down here, you'll see that, Martha. Town of Whitestown, Town of Stark.
Thank you, Kay.
See it on the bottom section?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I could be wrong, but we felt they deserved that because they lost their tax base there.
Mhm.
Well, I-
Yeah, they took it
So
over.
that's why. it
It's
was
funny
done
that that's
way.
listed on there for every year.
Well,
That's what we've,
that is, I mean, that goes first. They always
One-time
get
payment.
that first.
The ones.
It's every year.
Every
Right,
year.
but then once the whole check money comes in, they just automatically get it, or is it a monthly or quarterly?
think-
No, I don't know how they pay them.
allocate
Well,
every year.
We
I think
allocated
it's
it
just
from the
growth.
Ho-Chunk fund,
Yeah.
yes. But that's the first allocation, then these others are late, decisions that make later. Okay, that's updates. Any more questions, anyone? Okay, then the ARPA funding, ARPA funding. Next page.
We had $60,000 set aside for the feasibility assessment for Mirror Manor, Vernon Acres. That's still just kind of sitting there while we investigate the BSJ option. So as of right now, $241,000 in ARPA funding still sitting there. As a reminder, that money needs to be allocated by the end of this year and spent by the end of 2026. We've had some preliminary discussions in General Government Committee with the emergency management storage building, that may be an area where we could allocate some of those funds before the end of the year to make sure that we're using them up. So more to come on that. We just worked on that RFP yesterday and it'll be sent out this week.
That building, did that money, were they appropriated for that building already?
No.
No, that's still in the making.
Right.
Okay,
So we
yeah.
drafted an RFP that will go out, I believe, this week for design and construction.
Okay.
So once we get that back, we'll have a better idea of how much money they need.
Okay.
How big is the building?
5,000 square feet? Yeah.
So it's just gonna be a pull shed or it's gonna be a shelter, like concrete or?
Yeah.
Full shed.
Post frame.
I think it's the same as what Phil just put up, other than one extra bay.
Same as the DeSoto Hill shed, just a hair bigger. With the door sizes, he figures he can get everything he's got in there. It'd be just a little bathroom, small area for a desk and office, or not office, but a place to.
Is the whole building being heated then, Phil? Is that what they're going at?
So that's our task by the end of the year, is to determine how we're going to spend the 241,000.
Well, you talked, we're gonna be on in the next couple months with
Yeah.
that.
That'll be most of it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
it'll be a good chunk of it. We'll see when we get the bids.
it's gonna be a whole learning curve for next year though, because everybody's been relying on this.
Yep.
ARPA money
Yes, it
for-
is.
We almost need another one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't. We need the funding, but we don't need what brought
The
this.
big projects got taken care of now, so.
Yeah, that's kind of my concern. Every board meeting,
Everybody's
it's like, well, we'll use our funds for this.
It's
Yeah.
gotten too easy.
Like, when that runs dry, what then?
And the junk review is gonna be a whole lot more involved now, because that's the only extra money there'll be.
Right. Well, I've been safe. So
Maybe we'll be caught up. Maybe we won't need any more.
What's that on? What's that on? Dreamer?
Any other questions about the ARPA funding?
Would that be capital expenditures though? So that'd be, we'll have more money in our general fund if we're capitally expending it, won't we? Doesn't that make the general fund larger if we list it as a capital expenditure?
Not really.
Not really.
You mean,
If-
and then borrow the money and
If
then
you're
put that
talking
money in
about
the general fund?
borrowing,
Right.
then yeah, then that leaves, I mean, that is a mechanism that a lot of municipalities have used to be able to continue to use their general funds or operating funds is borrowing for some of the long-term capital costs. We try not to do that if we don't have to.
Well, we're not doing it because we have ARPA funds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're gonna have to switch over to do
Yeah.
it that way.
Yep.
That's why you guys, we're trying to work on the switch.
Yeah, and the goal is to do that, with planning and being responsible about how we do it so that we're not, all of a sudden, oh, we need to build a new $10 million building and we're going to make the tax levy spike like crazy. The goal is to keep it as even as possible.
Now, my vision is this Vernon Manor stuff could change us a lot.
Mhm.
So, hopefully it does.
Can the tax levy only be increased so much?
Mhm.
Well, it's because of new buildings.
That's-
Net new construction, yep, or debt. That's it.
It's been pretty restraining.
Yes, it has. We do, we are now, because of the bill that was passed last year, seeing an increase in our shared revenue,
Correct.
over $500,000 a year. So that is helpful.
That'll help.
Yep.
But now with the error of the 2 million, how does that get made up then at the end of the year?
So,
I
what,
mean, you can't increase.
no, that doesn't have any impact. So what you'll see is that our tax bills this year went down significantly.
So that-
They're going to go back up to where they were the year prior and maybe a little higher. But when you compare from, last year to next year, the goal is to stay in that. I think our projections were around 5% total. So over the course of 2 years. That's the goal. We haven't gotten into budget yet. More to come.
Any more questions about the ARPA funding? No? Okay, then we'll move on to long-term financial planning. We've been talking a little about that.
We have been talking a little bit about that, and I will be relaying what we talked about last month, which as far as priorities for our budgeting, the department heads at our last department head meeting I did relay that as far as this committee wanting to see what our statutorily required expenses as part of the budget. So we'll be looking at that when we start digging into each department's budget. But as far as, the agenda item is priority-based budgeting, I don't have any updates for you guys on that, unfortunately. That was a project we were really hoping to get going this spring, and
It's not gonna work.
not
Not
with
yet.
just me. Yeah.
Yeah. We need a director and
I know there was a firm they talked about hiring way back. I mean, is that necessary to hire a firm to tell us how to priority base?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that.
I know,
necessary.
I know Rod was pushing for a certain software too, and that software company was actually one of the only ones that does it, and they were just bought by Tyler Technologies, who, if you recall, is who we're going through for our ERP system. So there may be a mechanism by which we can utilize our ERP system to do some of that, but we won't know until it's fully implemented.
That'd be
That's kind of a
great.
down the road thing.
that'd be great. But I think if we start to learn what is really required, then we can be a little more concise in our budgeting
Mhm.
so that we know what is required and what is,
Needs versus
yes.
wants and wishes.
Right,
Yes.
Right,
Well, especially without the ARPA funds.
yes,
I think
yes, it'll be important
cause each department to have to.
to see what is absolutely required, and then we do that.
And the hardest part is going to be for the department heads to give that, some of these things aren't necessary because everybody's protective of their little cove, and that's going to be the learning curve.
Well, and in government funding, if you give it away, you'll never get it back until you make a request, and that is a difficult part of government funding.
They have to become better grant writers.
Yep, that's true. Or hope that where the area you work in has grants.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean,
important. There's some available.
Yeah.
We're facing some land conservation with those dams. These people all think there's something coming. Well, that isn't there yet. Those grants may be forthcoming, but we don't know that.
yeah, that's a big item too. Okay, any other discussion about long-term financial planning? If not, our next meeting date is July 16th.
So, I am going to be gone that whole week, actually.
Okay, so we might have to have a different meeting date.
She'll have a director hired by then.
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
that'll help us.
Yeah.
Pull up my calendar.
When's county board in July?
The 18th. At least that's what it's supposed to be right now. I was, really hoping maybe we could move it.
Well, we might be able to move that. Why can't we, can we just shift down a week? Can't shift down. Can't shift down.
Not if they leave the county board the same date, we have to shift up. But if they're going to move the county board meeting,
Yeah.
then we could shift down.
Yeah, then we could. We could wait until after Thursday and decide when we want to meet it. I mean, that's not,
Well, otherwise we could go to like 23rd. Will the 23rd work?
it
If
will,
the county board moves to the 25th.
yeah.
Then it would work.
Okay. Well, temporarily, we'll just think about the 23rd, and if
That sounds good,
it
yeah.
works, then we'll just fit into place.
And if that doesn't work, we'll have to go
Yeah,
Yeah.
the week before.
something
We'll
else,
just,
yeah.
I'll contact you guys and figure something out. No biggie.
Where are you headed to?
To be determined for that week.
Mystery,
Shutting your phone off and standing.
mystery, yeah, I know, let it be a mystery.
She's not telling me John's number.
I know, she's
No, it's literally, I don't know.
probably going to Italy or something. for
No.
a month.
There you go.
Couldn't do that in a week, hardly. You could. I've done it, but,
You're too busy.
okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Oh, yeah, I saw your, okay, meeting is adjourned.